Hi, I'm Kelly. As a life coach, I've noticed that the work I do with people isn't about their relationships or their jobs. It isn't about their kids or even how to find a way to get all the laundry done. All the work we do together centers around finding the answer to one simple question. What does it mean to live a fulfilled life? Join me as I explore this question and more in conversation with others in the Fulfilling Life interviews with me, Kelly Dahl, as your host. Hello, it's Kelly, and I'm here today with Alisha Sommer, who I have gotten to know a little bit over the internet on things like Instagram and Facebook, and it's wonderful to connect with beautiful souls in this manner. And I'm so excited to get to talk with her on a deeper level today about what it means to live a fulfilling life. So Alisha, it is so wonderful to have this chance to talk with you on a Sunday morning. We're talking. And I would love for you to first start by sharing with everybody a little bit about yourself and the work that you do.
Sure. First, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm honored and thrilled to do this. But like you said, my name is Alisha Sommer, and I am a writer, mother, and I also write, edit, and publish a literary magazine called Blackberry. And then in between that, I dabble in a few other things, and I also run a book discussion club called The Den, which is a group of women, and we kind of just circle around every couple months and discuss a book that's central to womanhood. So like Women Who Run with the Wolves, we just read When Women Were Birds by Terry Tempest Williams, and then Communion by Bell Hooks. So I just kind of do those things.
Just a few things. On top of being a full-time mom to small children and balancing your creativity and your writing with life. So just a few things, which is really quite a bit. As I know too, I have small children too. So I'm trying to think of it more as a flow than a balancing act these days.
Yes. It is definitely a flow.
So we're here today to talk about what it means to live a fulfilling life, and I start off these interviews with that big question, the overarching one, which is, what does it mean to you, Alisha, to live a fulfilling life?
For me, it really means the act of seeking out and finding those things that really light you up, make you feel really good, finding those things that help you live a more true version of yourself and feeling less of a shadow of yourself. And so right now for me, that really means honoring my needs for self-care, my needs for creativity, and learning how to integrate those more so that I feel like I'm feeding my soul as well as, performing or fulfilling my responsibilities as a wife and a mom.
Yeah, I love that distinction between feeding your soul and feeding your responsibilities or fulfilling your responsibilities, and seeing it as feeding. I talked recently with Rachel Cole too, and she talks a lot about fulfillment as being well fed. And when you shift it to feeding yourself, it becomes more of an essential part of your life. Like you said, feeding your creativity, that it's not just this extra piece of you, that it's something that you need to give attention to, or else there's a piece of you that's missing, or there's a piece of you that's literally not being fed. And just like we feed our children, right? We need to feed all of those parts of ourselves.
Exactly.
Really lovely. So I know you have a lot of things going on in your life. What are some of the things that you do to make sure you are feeding yourself, that you're taking care of yourself with everything else that goes on day to day?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that I do is I always, at the end of every night, take like a 30-minute hot shower. I close the door, nobody's supposed to bother me, and I stand in the water for about 20 minutes. The last 10 minutes I actually bathe. But I just kind of sit and let everything wash away. And I think about my day and I process. And it's just a really good way for me to unwind and kind of just clear my thoughts. And that's just something that I've always had to do. It's because, you know, 3 small kids, 5, 4, and 2. So, like, there's always this constant bombardment of energy and information. And so that 30 minutes at the end of the night really helps me relax and recenter. And then also the ritual of having more coffee every morning and journaling, which also just kind of helps me set the tone for my day. And then, of course, actually working on the magazine, which can be sometimes really stressful, but it's that creativity that I need to feed. And that outlet really helps me feel like I'm staying connected to a lot of my goals that I had before I was a mom. And it also allows me to connect with others. And the same thing with the den. It's really been important to me. I think sometimes we can feel isolated at times as a mom, especially before the kids get into school where you're really interacting with other parents. So the den was really a way for me to find those souls I really connected with and hold space for all of us to kind of like really explore what this means and how we're defining womanhood for ourselves.
Yeah, you know, you bring up things that I've thought a lot about as far as motherhood. And, you know, I often would say, you know, I feel so alone, but yet I'm never alone. When my son is now 7 and my daughter is 4, so they're in school part of the time at least. So I do get more time to myself, but you know, when they're small, they're always kind of on top of you, but you don't have that space to connect. And I think that's the time that for me, feeding that creative part of myself and having something that was outside of that, and also being able to connect with other women who were maybe going through the same thing or maybe not, but just had something that was that spark that lit them up, and finding that again in myself became that much more important. So I love your rituals how you kind of bookend your day with some quiet and solitude and creativity and then washing it off. There's something just really beautiful about that sort of ritual that you have in your life. I like that.
Yes, I'm sure my husband would prefer that I shorten my showers the water bill, but they're really necessary.
Oh, I totally get it. I have not taken such long showers since I had kids. I was never a long shower person, but now sometimes I have to force myself out because the quiet and the hot water. I take very, very hot showers too, and it's sometimes you need that alone space, and that's where you can get it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there are things too that get in your way along this path. You've created a lot of things to keep yourself nurtured and to feed your creative self. What are some of the stumbling blocks that you come across that don't keep you feeling fulfilled?
You know, naturally, it's partly the children, you know, and it sometimes can be because they're at that age where they don't understand that like mom needs quiet space or mom needs alone time, or you can't touch these things because they're really essential to something else for mommy. And then to, you know, handling that also with the relationship with my husband. And when there's not kids, it's supposed to be like husband time, but there also has to be some mom time in there too. And so to make sure that he's not feeling neglected as I try to also nurture myself. And it's a really difficult kind of terrain to navigate sometimes. And then also too, just like with, I think a lot of mothers and anybody really, when they're trying to focus on things that really nurture themselves and make them feel good versus their responsibilities or the life that they feel like they should be leading, I sometimes still just struggle with whether or not I'm supposed to. Like, am I allowed to be doing these things for me? As much as I like really, really preach and love and support and talk to people about you need to do things that make you happy as well, I still struggle with whether or not I'm supposed to let this season of life be solely focused on others, and not so much on myself. And so there's always this dialogue I have with myself about, okay, no, this is necessary. I am supposed to take care of myself, because conceptually I understand that if I'm happy, everybody else is happy. But sometimes other people aren't happy, even when mom is happy, because it means that they're having to also sacrifice some things.
Right.
So I think it's really difficult sometimes to make sure that you find that flow, so that everybody is mostly meeting, that you're honoring, I guess, everybody else's needs as well as your own. And I try to be really cognizant of what my children do need from me and their environment. But like I said, at the same time, I also know that if I'm not supporting myself, I can't honor their needs at all. So
it's a delicate dance, right? And I think I question it a lot, and I have no answers for sure, but I hear from you, and it's something that I hear from myself a lot too. It's that difficulty in receiving what you know that you need. And sometimes it's just receiving it from yourself, but sometimes it's receiving it from others too, who may be fully willing to support you, but you still have trouble taking it in and receiving it.
Yeah, I mean, I have offers for people to watch the kids all the time, and since I'm like, no, it's so much work. Are you sure you never deal with 3 kids? Like,
yeah,
you don't want to do it. She's like, trust me. But yeah, even receiving the help when people want to give me some space and some time alone, I still sometimes struggle with accepting that help.
Yeah. Yeah. That I really identify with that as being a struggle. And, it is these outside forces a lot and things that happen, but at the same time, just as we need to look in to find what feeds us and lights us up, we also have to look within to see what's stopping us, because often it is coming just from us and not from anybody else. So when you are having trouble receiving, or there are emergencies and illnesses with kids and life, how do you keep flowing past those obstacles and stay on your path and keep working on your creativity and the magazine and your writing?
Really, journaling, doing my morning pages every morning really does help me kind of clear my head and refocus. It helps me, like yesterday I had an experience where I was feeling really guilty about just feelings in general that I was having about life. And then I realized that I was judging myself. And so there was a reminder that I needed to relax and not judge myself or my feelings, and just allow myself to experience. And that's what's been really key for me, is that daily practice of journaling, not necessarily my writing, poetry or essays or whatever, but that process of just reconnecting to myself. And it's always, for me, journaling is just a process of discovery, it's, and remembrance. There's always this element of asking questions and then you kind of answering them for yourself. Or sometimes there are just questions and you just let the questions out, it's just a way for you just to reconnect to myself. And that's kind of how I stay focused, and sometimes, and allow myself to navigate that flow. Just to remind myself that it is passing, and that maybe, if I'm really cranky that day, or if I've been really tired or anxious and I don't know the root of it, I probably haven't journaled in a while, or I probably haven't taken an afternoon to just lay in the bed and watch Netflix for a while. It's like, okay, that's right. I need to go back to the self-care. What am I not doing to take care of myself?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and that I hear you. It made me think of, like, you distill down what is really going on with yourself, and that process of writing for you helps sort of the root of what's going on to come forward, and just to gain some clarity, and not necessarily even have answers, but just to understand, oh, this is how I'm really feeling, and this is going to affect the various aspects of my life right now. Just that awareness can be so powerful.
Exactly. It's just staying aware and not getting overwhelmed, and then, and kind of just like existing below the surface of all those things. It just kind of helps you get a little bit of air. It helps me get a little bit of air just to like write it out and really understand what's going on so that I'm not acting unintentionally.
Oh, I like that a lot. That you're not acting unintentionally, which does happen, when life moves quickly. The unintentional actions come out, at least for me. But being mindful of ways to not have that happen as often, or to understand. And then even when they do, if I find the more aware I am, then that my ability to go back and apologize or reflect on what happened with my kids or my husband or friends or colleagues or anything, my ability to do that is that much more heightened, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, Alisha, it has been such a pleasure to talk with you. I feel like we could talk for a long time about all of these things. So it's wonderful to have somebody who I really feel like I can relate to and shares some core values and really similar outlooks on how life is as a creative woman, and also balancing the realities of life. So it's wonderful to connect with you. Do you have any final parting words for our viewers today, or anything to let people know how they can further connect with you and your work?
You can always find me at alishasommer.com. It's where you'll find my blogging and then links to the magazine or whatever else I'm working on. Also the Den. And I think just to end it, I would just say that ultimately, I really like this idea of leading a fulfilling life, because I think that so many of us aren't, and that's kind of sad in a way. But I believe that we have the ability to lead a full and happy life, and so my thing is just always encouraging people to go out and seek those things that make you happy, or at least give you that little bit of glimmer or sparkle within yourself, or give you a better outlook on life in general. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and we'll continue to connect, I hope.
Yes, definitely.
Enjoy your day.
Thanks, you too.